to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
See, and now you have proof that you were at the meeting.
Yeah, there you go.
They can slip out.
Thank you. Roll call, please, Mrs. Meltzer.
Thank you, Mrs. West.
Here.
Mr. Keys.
Here.
Mr. Pearl.
Here.
Mr. Cannon.
Here.
Mr. Argona.
Here.
Mr. Gilliam.
Here.
Mrs. Meltzer here.
Do we have any additions or deletions to tonight's agenda?
We have one add-on, item number 15, excuse me, request approval to purchase a 2019 Ford F-150 from the 2019-20 budget year.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Pearl.
Yes.
Mrs. West.
Yes.
Mr. Keys.
Yes.
Mr. Cannon.
Yes.
Mr. Argona.
Yes.
Mr. Gilliam.
Yes.
Mrs. Meltzer, yes, motion passes.
Thank you, and welcome to your Township Board meeting this evening. We have one of the most important things we do every year is to approve a budget that's on the agenda this evening. If there's any item you wish to speak to, please come to the podium as it comes before us and give us your name and address for the record, and we'll be glad to hear what you have to say. If you have something to say that's not part of tonight's agenda, we have public comments in the front of the room to your left. Simply fill one of those out, and we'll hear what you have to say at the end of the meeting. And before we begin with item 1, we'll have a public service announcement from Mrs. Meltzer.
Thank you, Mr. Cannon. For the viewers and for those in the audience here, we are implementing a new technological advance, our agenda management system. The clerk's office is in the position of rolling this out. We're doing just an introduction right now of, that's more for the board members to see how it works and to have our wonderful secretary in the back, recording secretary, work with it. But if you see some new language, new things up on the screen, that's what it's in regards to, and we'll be rolling it out probably the first meeting in April.
Thank you. With that, we'll have the 2018 annual report from the Clinton Township Board of Appeals.
Dear members of the board, pursuant to the requirements of Article 9 Bylaws and Procedures, Charter Township of Clinton Board of Appeals, we hereby forward a copy of the annual report for the year 2018 as approved at our regular meeting held on February 20th, 2019. If you have any questions or require additional information, please contact the Department of Planning and Community Development. Sincerely, Michael Diak, Vice Chairman for the Clinton Township Board of Appeals.
Thank you. The Vice Chairman is in the audience tonight. This is merely a receive and file. If you have any questions, I'm sure they would be glad to answer any questions. Otherwise, I'll look for a motion to receive and file.
Move to receive and file. Support.
Comments from the community? Roll call, please.
Mr. Pearl.
Yes.
Mr. Argona.
Yes.
Mrs. West. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Was
We
it
both-
Mr. Pearl?
No, we both
I mean,
said.
Mr. Key? Oh,
I didn't hear it. What,
Yes.
Mr. Cannon, do you have, you want to give the final one who was supported that?
I didn't hear.
We both said at the same time. Mr. Argona's fine.
Okay.
Is it-
I just
okay.
heard you.
All right,
I'm
Miss.
sorry.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's the proximity thing. All right, then. Mr. Keys,
Yes.
Mr. Pearl,
Yes.
Mr. Cannon?
Yes.
Mr. Gilliam?
Yes.
Mrs. Meltzer, yes.
Did yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. And item 2 is a public hearing for our 2019-2020 township budget. Mrs. Loretti and Mrs. Hine will be making the presentation.
Because I can't see. I just break my neck. Most definitely gonna break my
Yeah,
neck.
no, that's all right.
You know? I know. Is this the same thing?
I know, I don't think it's actually ready. Yeah.
Let's do that.
I'm sitting right here.
Whatever.
Just put one here on your
Okay.
computer.
Okay, can you hear me? I have it. Is this working? Yeah.
I can hear you.
So we don't need
Kind of. Doesn't sound like it to me.
You gotta
Okay,
yell really loud.
tonight I will be presenting to you a review of the proposed budget for the fiscal year that covers April 1, 2019 through March 31st, 2020. It will include the major funds of the township with an emphasis on the general, fire, police, and water and sewer funds. As stated in the transmittal letter, included in your budget document, the budget serves as a planning guide outlining the services being provided and the funding provided in the upcoming year. It is a financial means of allocating financial and personnel resources and continues the conservative spending approach while keeping the township's commitment to providing high-quality, dependable services. Once my presentation of the governmental funds is concluded, Mary Hein will present the Water and Sewer Fund. The financial outlook, made difficult due to falling property taxes during a 5-year span, continues to improve. The township recognized its first increase of 1.3% in taxable values in the 2014-15 fiscal year budget and has experienced increases ever since. The current fiscal year saw an increase of 3.7% above the prior year. Since the CPI for the current fiscal year is at 2.4%, and last year's was 2.1, and considering uncappings from home sales and additions from canvassing, the increase in taxable value for the budgeted 2019-20 proposed budget being presented is 3.25%. The second page of the budget transmittal letter contains a chart of taxable values of the past 10 years, along with the projected increases. The township's Michigan Tax Tribunal appeals will continue to impact the township's tax revenues through this budget plan, although not as severe as in past years. The township's largest revenue source in the general fund is from state shared revenue from the state. The state revenue sharing amounts budgeted are based on estimates provided by the Michigan Department of Treasury, which indicates revenue sharing payments estimated to increase by approximately 3.25% in the current year and an additional 0.58% in the 2019-20 budget being presented. The full-time personnel summary section details the number of staff assigned to each department by position for the past 5 years, and that begins on page 60 of the budget document. Public Act 152 hard cap for healthcare premiums has been increased by 1.9% and has been applied to all budgeted full-time positions in the 2019-20 proposed budget, and 5% is being used throughout the 3-year projection. For the 5th consecutive year, significant capital expenditures are allocated in the budget to address an aging infrastructure and equipment. The capital outlay detail section at the end of the budget document includes details of capital outlay by department, beginning on page 64 of the document. The first fund that I'm going to be presenting is the general fund. And this first slide shows the general fund revenues. The general fund 2019-20 revenue budget reflects the 3.7% increase in taxes, the 0.58% increase in state shared revenue. Building department revenues are slightly lower due to the 2-year rental inspection program. DPW revenues are slightly less due to lower anticipated paving inspections and weed cutting revenues. And then there are small increases or decreases among all of the other revenue sources. The structural deficit that existed in years ago in the general fund has been eliminated for the current year. The proposed 19-20 budget and the 3-year projected budget. This means that revenues are enough to cover operating expenses when not including the large capital expenditures and the double payments made for pension and retiree health care. Those pension and retiree health care double payments are like a voluntary extra payment, so you wouldn't include those in your regular operating. Revenues in the current 2018-19 budget have been adjusted upward based on updated actual revenues by approximately $273,000. Most of this increase is related to the state revenue sharing coming in higher than anticipated at this time last year. The remainder of the increase is a result of favorable variances across other revenue categories. Okay, this slide shows the total general fund expenditures. The current 2018-19 expenditure budget has been revised downward by approximately $612,000 from the original budget. This favorable budget variance is mainly due to capital outlay that was budgeted in the building and grounds and parks activities that were not spent during the year or are being transferred to next year's budget. And also a part of that $612,000 is a saving in the planning department due to the vacancy of the assistant planning director and a clerical position that's been vacant for most of the year. Also included in the current 2018-19 estimated budget is a transfer to the Capital Improvement Fund in the amount of $358,000 for road project expenditures during the fiscal year. I'll talk a little bit more about that when we get to the Capital Improvement Fund. The remainder is a combination of slight favorable and unfavorable variances across all departments. The proposed 2019-20 fiscal year budget includes 2 additional full-time staff, which consists of an additional half office clerk position in the building and clerks department, and an additional office clerk position in the senior department. The retiree health care contribution percentage in the 2019-20 budget is 23.14% of payroll, which is less than the prior year. And the reason for that is the double payments that we have been making to the health care fund. Not only does it help in the funding, but it also helps in your percentages for following years for your contribution. All salary and fringe benefits are based on current contractual obligations. Departmental budgets are showing increases due to salary increases, increases in the healthcare hard cap, pension contributions, and the inclusion of capital outlay expenditures. Now I'm going to go through the highlights by department and general fund. And I'll just be discussing any department that has any significant changes in them. Okay. The trustees and administrative aid department, the 2019-20 budget continues to reflect 1/2 of the personnel cost of an office clerk 2 position. The administrative aid position has been eliminated from the budget and has been replaced by an administrative assistant position, as approved by the board in February. Education and training has been budgeted at $8,250 for trustees to attend various meetings and conferences. Salaries and fringe benefits in the 2018-19 current year budget have been reduced because the cost of the 1/2 office clerk position that was originally budgeted was left vacant for the year. Printing and publications, contractual services, and medical charges have been increased for costs incurred related to the filling of the administrative assistant position. Okay, supervisors and budget and finance have no significant changes. Clerks and elections. The 2018-19 current year budget reflects the elimination of the election specialist position and the inclusion of the election coordinator position, and the creation of a full-time clerk position to replace the half position that was previously shared with the building department. Full-time salary and fringe benefits have been reduced due to vacant positions during the year. Postage has been increased to provide for a voter-wide mailing in response to Proposal 3. The 2019-20 proposed budget for full-time salary and benefits reflects a return to full staffing. Stenographer overtime is expected to decrease because of the implementation of the agenda management software. Postage includes funds for mailings in accordance with election laws. Computer costs include $5,000 to purchase flash drives, labelers, and surge protectors, $1,000 for an express vote printer, and $11,800 for annual license fees for the agenda management software. Capital outlay is budgeted at $87,500, and that detail you can find in the budget document on page 64. Computer cost in the unallocated costs budget includes $2,000 for a cloud-based service to archive social media postings for response to the Freedom of Information Act requests. The technology migration line of the Capital Improvement Fund budget includes $6,600 for annual support fees for Laserfish. Okay, information and technology. The 2019-20 budget reflects a continuation of present staffing levels. Tuition reimbursement is budgeted at $5,000 for the upcoming year, and the education and training contains a budget of $9,000 for the request for online training for the IT staff. Additional computer costs have been budgeted in the unallocated budget for the fiber optic network of $55,000 per year. The Capital Improvement Fund includes $237,500 for technology-related items. Again, you can find those in the capital outlay section. Office 365 at a cost of $100,000 per year is not included in this budget, but will be considered for next year's budget. Servers and storage components estimated to cost $250,000 will need to be replaced within the next 2 years and will be included in the next year's 2020-21 budget. Okay, there is no significant changes in the treasurer's. Assessing. The budget for part-time salaries includes the cost of the residential canvass to ensure that field cards on the residential properties in the township are accurate and up-to-date to comply with the requirements of the State Tax Commission. The cost of the project is expected to be offset by increased property revenues. The budget for contractual services includes an estimate of the cost for property appraisals to support valuations of township properties and the related testimony in support of the appraisals before the Michigan Tax Tribunal. Okay, buildings and grounds. The buildings and grounds budget reflects the continuation of present staffing levels of 3 custodial maintenance workers with limited work schedules and benefits. The 2018-19 budget for capital outlay expenditures was decreased to the actual cost of parcels of land purchased as part of the tax sale. The front step and handicap ramp project and the security upgrade project were postponed for a year. In addition, the entire project to upgrade the boiler controls at the Civic Center was awarded during the year rather than being completed in phases over several years. The 2019-20 budget in building and grounds includes capital outlay of $290,000, and that detail can be found in the capital outlay section on page 64. Civil service and human resources have no significant changes. The Planning Department 2018-19 budget includes $7,000 to complete the township's master plan. Salaries and fringe benefits have been reduced due to the vacant positions during the year. Computer costs include $40,000 to digitize the department's microfilm and paper files, and for the annual cost for a license to use the GIS software. The 19-20 budget for salaries and fringe benefits reflects a return to full staffing levels. In addition, $1,000 is included in computer costs for the renewal of the GIS software licenses. Community relations and media services. This budget reflects a continuation of present staffing levels, including the associate producer and part-time salaries. Capital outlay totaling $9,000 is includes the addition of a virtual set package and a video camera. Building department. The building department's 18-19 current expenditure budget reflects the creation of a full-time office clerk 2 to replace the half position previously budgeted to be shared with the clerk's department. The 19-20 expenditure budget continues to include the seasonal ordinance enforcement officer. Capital outlay includes $4,000 to replace furniture and $26,337 for a pickup truck to replace one of the department's aging vehicles. Okay, the next department is Public Works. The 2018-19 Public Works budget reflects an increase in revenue from weed control fees and from paving and inspections. In accordance with the implementation of certain union contracts, the clothing allowance was eliminated and rolled into base wages, which resulted in a reduction in the clothing bank budget and an increase in the salaries budget. The 1920 proposed Public Works budget for part-time salaries has been budgeted to allow for 24 seasonal workers. Revenue and expenditures include $20,000 related to a grant for engineering costs for a kayak and canoe launch at George Park. Capital outlay has been budgeted at $402,000, and that detail can be found on page 65 of the budget document. Because the term of the Downtown Development Authority expired, the 1819 Streets and Highways budget has been increased to provide funds for the utilities and for repair costs for the electronic signs on Gratiot. In addition, the ongoing utility costs, in addition to the ongoing utility costs, the 1920 budget includes $15,000 for lighting and $17,000 for landscaping for the Gratiot median. The Parks budget includes $34,000 for maintenance of the bike path along Metro Parkway in accordance with a 5-year maintenance agreement with the Huron-Clinton Metro Authority. The 2019-20 fiscal year is the 5th and final year of the agreement. Repairs and maintenance include $20,000 for pavilion and dugout roof replacement. Various projects budgeted in the 18-19 year were deferred until the 19-20 fiscal year. As a result, capital outlay has been budgeted at $1,247,400, and that detail can be found on page 64 of the budget document. Okay, recreation. I keep doing that. The 2018-19 budget reflects an increase in capital outlay for the purchase of furnace and air conditioning units at Steiner Building, as approved by the board in December. The 1920 budget reflects a continuation of present staffing levels. The Senior Center, 2018-19 budget reflects the creation of an Office Clerk 2 position to replace 2 part-time clerical aide positions, as approved by the board in October. This change results in the department having 1 full-time office clerk position and 2 clerical aides. Currently, the department has 3 clerical aides and will complete the transition to 2 clerical aides when one of the positions is vacated. The 2019-20 budget includes $71,000 in capital outlay for HVAC upgrades, tile replacement, sign replacement, and a hose bib for the community garden. The budget also provides $57,000 in fundraising expenditures for fundraising supplies, special events, and for various upgrades to the facility. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the 3-year projection for the general fund. And first, we're going to look at the assumptions that we have built into these projections. The tax revenue increases, as we spoke about earlier, in the 1920 budget, we are looking at a 3.25 increase. And then for the next 3 years, we are using a 3%, 2.75, and a 2.5. We believe we're being conservative here, but it is, we did increase it from last year. Things looked pretty favorable this year, so we are looking at a little bit more favorable tax increases. Salary and fringe benefit increases are based on current contracts. Hard cap is implemented for healthcare costs. There's a 5% increase built into the projected numbers for the hard cap. The 23.14% retiree healthcare contribution, which lasts next 2 years. We get a 2-year report, and we get a percentage that we are to use for 2 years. So we use the 23.14% for the 1920 budget being proposed, and in the projection for the 20 and 21. And then we just increase it by a little bit. We used a 25% for the 22 and 23 years budget. 1.5% increases in all other expenditures. And we also include compliance with truth in taxation. Also included in all of the budgets is additional retiree health care contributions equal to the annual required contribution for 1920 and all 3 projected budget years. And the same goes for MERS. We have additional contributions for MERS equal to the required contributions for 1920, and we carried those through the 3-year projection also. Okay, so this is the 3-year projection. The purpose of this slide is to focus on 2 things. Number 1, the revenues over or under expenditures for the budgeted year and for the 3-year projection. And number 2, available fund balance, which is expressed in dollars as a percent of the following year's expenditures. So for the requested 3/31/20 budget and the 3-year forecasts, if you look on the screen, it shows that expenditures are exceeding revenues all throughout the projection. However, included in those amounts is the additional retiree health care and MERS contributions. And we break those out at the bottom of the screen. And so if we were to take those out of the revenue and expenditure budgets, we actually have revenues exceeding expenditures throughout the projection. I also want to point out that part of the 3-year projection includes $300,000 in expenditures for technology improvements each year, beginning in the 3/31/22 fiscal year. In the past, this expenditure has been paid out of the Capital Improvement Fund, which will be depleted after the 3/31/21 fiscal year. So the general fund will have to pick up that expenditure if the township wishes to upgrade technology to the same extent it has in the past several years. I've also included a $300,000 per year in the projections for the revival of the sidewalk program. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to the second area of focus on this spreadsheet, which is the fund balance. If you take a look at the percentages at the bottom of the page, which is the fund balance as a percentage of why does this do it? Not even touching it. As a percent of the following year's expenditures. This is what is it looked at to determine the health of the fund. Prior to the 2008 downfall, a 10% balance was acceptable. Since the downturn in the economy and all of the troubles that communities were experiencing, that percentage recommendation has been increased to 20%. As you can see, the general fund is well above the 20% levels, maintaining above a 43% for the duration of the projection. These percentages also take into consideration the additional retiree health care and MERS contributions, which indicates that the fund balance is sufficient to make the additional contributions. Okay, next we're going to look at the police fund. The police fund is funded primarily from tax revenues. The additional $1 million that was approved by citizens in November of 2013, along with the 3.25% increase in taxable value, has been incorporated into the revenue projections for the police fund. The 2018-19 tax revenue budget has been revised upward to reflect actual revenues billed. This increase is mainly due to tax revenues that were budgeted at a 3% increase, coming in at a 3.7% increase. In addition, the revenue received from the 41B District Court, budgeted at $5,000, is expected to be approximately $32,000. The 2019-20 proposed budget reflects an additional 2 officers, increasing the number of sworn officers from 93 to 95. As approved by the board to provide 2 additional school liaison officers. All salary and fringe benefits are based on current contractual obligations. Also included are increases in the health care hard cap, pension contributions, and the inclusion of capital outlay expenditures. Capital outlay has been budgeted at $306,314, and the details can be found on page 65 of the budget document. Retired health care contribution percentage in 2019-20 budget is the 23.14% that I talked about earlier. And that actually resulted in a decrease of $360,100 from the prior year. The police fund proposed budget shows revenues exceeding expenditures. As with the general fund, the proposed 19-20 budget includes an additional contribution to pre-fund retiree health care equivalent to the required contributions for the year. This additional contribution amounts to $1,777,100 in the police fund. Also included in the 19-20 budget, as introduced last year, is an additional contribution to the MERS system, equivalent to the required contributions for the year, and this contribution amounts to $113,211 in the police fund. Okay, the 3-year projection for the police fund. As stated with the general fund, it's important to note that the township must strive to keep its fund balances at levels consistent with sound financial principles. To achieve this, revenues should exceed expenditures. The proposed budget achieves this and all throughout the three-year projection. As you can see, the police fund balance is well above the 20% levels, maintaining above 72% for the duration of the projection. As I stated with the general fund, these percentages also take into consideration the additional retiree health care and MERS contributions, which indicates that this fund is able to make the additional contributions. Okay, the next fund is the fire fund. As stated with general fund, it is important to keep fund balance consistent with financial principles. As you can see, the police fund balance is well above, The fire fund is also funded primarily from tax revenues. The additional 1.25 mils that were approved by citizens in November 2013, along with the 3.25 increase in taxable value, has been incorporated into the revenue projections for the fire fund. The 2018-19 revenue budget has been revised upward to reflect actual revenues billed. This increase is due to the revenues being budgeted at 3% and coming in at 3.7%. The 19-20 proposed budget reflects the continuation of staffing levels, including 75 sworn officers, as anticipated with the passing of the 2013 millage. However, during the current fiscal year, the board voted to increase the number of lieutenants by 3 and to reduce the number of firefighters by 3. All salary and fringe benefits are based on current contractual obligations. Also included are increases in health care hard cap, pension contributions, and capital outlay expenditures. The additional 1.25 millage that was approved by voters in 2013 also includes funding for the replacement of vehicles and equipment. In order to be able to plan, manage, and account for the replacement of some very large, costly vehicles and equipment, we continue to utilize the Fire Vehicle and Equipment Replacement Fund. This fund is used to accumulate the funding and provide capital purchases. Funding has been transferred into this fund each year based on availability and purchases of vehicles and equipment are made out of this fund. A $300,000 transfer to the Fire Vehicle Equipment Replacement Fund is included in the 2019-20 proposed budget. Also, an additional $300,000 is budgeted in the fire fund capital outlay. This, you can find the details for those two on page 65 of the budget document. The retiree health care contribution percentage in 2019-20 budget is 23.14% of payroll, which results in a decrease from the prior year of almost $329,000. Pension contributions into the Police and Fire Pension Fund have increased by $159,821 from the prior year, according to the actuarial required contribution. The Fire Fund proposed budget shows revenues exceeding expenditures when not including the additional contributions to retiree health care and pension. As with the general fund, this budget includes additional contributions to pre-fund retiree health care equivalent to required contributions for the year. This additional contribution amounts to $1,395,583 in the fire fund. Also included in the proposed 19-20 budget, as introduced last year, is the additional contribution to MERS, and it amounts to $21,800 in the fire fund. Our next slide is the fire fund 3-year projection. As with general and police funds, the revenue continue to exceed expenditures throughout the projection when not including the additional contributions being made. The fund balance remains healthy throughout the duration of the projections. These percentages also take into consideration the additional retiree health care and MERS contribution, which indicates that this fund is also able to make the additional contributions, as it maintains above a 28% percentage of next year's expenditures for the duration of the projection. Okay, next fund is the Capital Improvement Fund. The Capital Improvement Fund provides for the purchase of technology and general capital-related items. The 18-19 budget includes a $608,000 transfer from the general fund to the fund for the township's participation with the Macomb County Department of Roads in the repaving of Little Knack from 15 Mile Road to Kemp, Greenfield, Rivergate, and Winshall Villa. The 2019-20 budget requested transfer from general fund in the amount of $3,548,432 is for the repaving of Little Mac, Kemp to McKishney, Little Mac, Weybridge to Groesbeck, Garfield, Millar to Metro Parkway, Garfield, 19 Mile Road to Hall Road, Kelly Road, Groesbeck to 15 Mile, Garfield, 17 Mile to 19 Mile. All of these projects have been approved by the board during this fiscal year, and they are all listed in the capital outlay section of the budget on page 66. The 2019-20 budget for technology-related items can be found in the capital outlay section of the budget, totaling $237,500. Sidewalk improvements totaling $350,000 have been included in the budget and will be paid for by a transfer from the general fund and offset by revenues received from previous sidewalk billings. This budget also includes a loan repayment of $35,307 for the Romeo Plank repaving. The last payment for that loan is October of 2020. The loan for Cass Avenue, previously paid for out of this fund, it has been paid off as of November of 2018. The fund balance in the Capital Improvement Fund is being depleted. The fund balance in this fund is $213,325 at the end of the year. $35,312 of it is being reserved to make the next payment for the Romeo Plank loan. As I mentioned earlier, any projects including technology improvements in the future will need a transfer from the general fund to cover the costs. Okay, the sanitation fund. The 2018-19 budget reflects an increase in the sanitation revenue as a result of the rate increase from $13 to $14.75 per month that became effective on April 1, 2017. That rate continues in the 1920 proposed budget. Contractual services continue to include the additional costs charged by the township's waste hauler for participation in the automated waste cart services program. Also included in the sanitation budget is $70,000 for the purchase of 2 new brush chippers. As of 3/31/20, this fund is estimated to have a remaining unrestricted net position of $616,382, which is available for future capital purchases. The last fund I'll be presenting is the Senior Housing Fund. The 2019-20 proposed budget reflects the increases in maintenance fees in accordance with the proposed rate increase schedule. The agreement with the management company expired on December 31st, 2017, and has continued on a month-to-month basis with the management fee remaining at $84,000 per year, and the employee compensation fee remaining at $154,000 per year. Effective April 1, 2019, the management company has requested a 2% increase in the employee compensation fee to provide raises for the development employees. Repairs and maintenance provide raises, or includes funds to seal coat the parking lot, repair the sidewalk, and to replace lock cylinders and keys. Capital outlay has been budgeted for various improvements to the facility and for miscellaneous replacement of flooring, countertops, and fixtures, totaling $119,300, as well as $320,000 to replace the dry fire suppression system and another $400,000 for balconies and door walls. I just want to mention, too, that the 2% increase will need to be part of the motion when the motion to approve the budget. That needs to be part of it. Now we're going to move on to the Water and Sewer Fund, and Mary Heim will be taking over.
We have received preliminary figures for the proposed rates for the cost of water purchased from the Great Lakes Water Authority that will be effective July 1st, 2019. This year, the rate is proposed to decrease by approximately 6%. Similar to last year, 60% will be charged as a fixed monthly charge, and 40% will be charged based on volume used. The estimated cost for wastewater treatment is based on the fixed monthly fees charged by the Great Lakes Water Authority, as well as fixed charges for operations and maintenance cost from the Macomb Interceptor Drain and the Oakland-Macomb Interceptor Drain drainage districts. We have not received rate information for the upcoming year and have kept the monthly costs the same throughout the 2019-20 budget. Because we don't have updated cost information and we are in the process of reviewing the rate structure, we have kept the customer rates the same throughout the 2019-20 budget. Computer costs include 6 additional user licenses for the ER portal software, which hosts our asset management data. It also includes a subscription to WAMR data, which allows us to monitor pressures and flow from the Great Lakes Water Authority. The budget for financial consultant includes the cost for the water and sewer rate study. The Water and Sewer Division is continuing with the program to TV and clean the sewer system throughout the township. Repairs and maintenance includes $200,000 in the event emergency repairs are needed to the sections of the sewer pipe cleaned during the year. In the 2018-19 budget year, repairs and maintenance also includes $46,000 for sewer line inspections as part of the fats, oil, and grease management program. The revenue budget includes a grant from FEMA that will be used to repair and upgrade a pump station that was damaged during a flood event in 2014. The cost of the upgrade is included in the list of proposed construction projects. The revenue budget also includes a stormwater asset management and wastewater, or SAW grant, that will be used for wastewater planning, design of the Beaconsfield Relief Sewer and the Little Mac Relief Sewer, and preparation of the wastewater asset management plan. The township will be recording in the Water and Sewer Fund the net liability for the post-employment benefits other than pension, or OPEB costs, related to that fund, which will reduce unrestricted net position. The amount of liability is not known, but is estimated to be $4 million to $5 million. This amount has not been included in the budget. Capital outlay items totaling $632,000 have been proposed for the 1920 budget as detailed in the capital outlay section on page 66 of the budget document. Estimated debt service costs for the bonds issued by the township and the drainage districts have been included in the budget. The balance outstanding on the bonds issued by the township as of March 31st, 2019 will be approximately $15.9 million. Total debt service for the township issued bonds is budgeted at $1.9 million. The balance outstanding on the bonds currently issued through the interceptor drainage districts as of March 31st, 2019 will be approximately $45.5 million. Total debt service for these bonds is budgeted at $3.8 million. Additional projects are expected to be undertaken by the mid and OMID drainage districts in the upcoming year, which will result in the issuance of additional bonds. The township's allocated share of the bonds is not known at this time. As a result, the budget does not reflect the debt service costs related to that. A list of proposed construction projects is included in the budget document on page 58. These projects include improvements to water and sewer lines, facility and equipment improvements, and ACO improvements. The 2019-20 budget includes projects totaling $18.2 million. These projects are budgeted to be paid out of the net assets of the fund. And based on the revenues and expenditures budgeted and the anticipated cost of new assets and capital improvement projects, we're projecting unrestricted net position in the Water and Sewer Fund to be approximately $12.7 million at March 31st, 2020. Questions?
Okay, let's start with the board. Are there any comments or questions? Mr. Gilliam?
So, I think if I go back to when we just started the presentation, Mr. Cannon indicated that this is by far the absolute biggest thing that we do as a board. We come together and approve a budget. And as a local community, we are in existence for pretty much one overriding reason, and that is to provide services to the people of the community and provide them the things that they need. And so, as a result of that, if we use this budget to sort of reflect, you know, the biggest things that we do and rank them in order of, I think, importance, you can look at how much money we're spending on each of them to say this is really how important it is. So if I were to say that by far the absolute biggest thing that we do is provide a water system that brings water to every home and business within Clinton Township, that would be accurate, right? And if you add in a sewer system along with that to take any wastewater away, those two things combined, one department, biggest thing that we do, right?
Expenditure-wise.
So expenditure-wise. And so then, second, in order of the most amount of spending is the police department, maintaining the police department to have a force that keeps our community safe, right?
Correct.
Okay. Second is fire, right? So water and sewer funded by water and sewer rates, the bills that go out every month to the ratepayers, people pay those. Then police and fire are largely supported by millages, right? And then the general fund is pretty much everything else, but it's the smallest part of the overall budget that we look at in terms of dollar amounts, even though it's everything else combined.
It's close to fire.
It's close to fire.
Pretty close.
So,
I'm not sure either.
right.
But it's pretty close.
I think I'm right on that,
Well,
but,
it depends on how much capital outlay and transfers are budgeted
Right,
in the general
right.
fund. But,
yeah.
yeah.
So, but that was the conversation we kind of had earlier. The structural, a lot of the capital is sort of like non-necessarily within the structural budget document of what are our revenue expenses, making sure revenue exceeded expenses. And so some of that capital stuff is stuff that we've had to delay, put off because we haven't had the money. So we're, doing this now while we're sort of in a good financial position. So then the other, I think, perspective that's always important is to say that out of the general fund, the actual millage that we put together in order to provide all of those services is probably one of the smaller parts of the actual revenue. The biggest thing is some of the fees maintain, or rather, some of the services maintain fees. So people pay for some of those services through those fees. We have an agreement with the state of Michigan, as all local communities do, to bring money in from the state in the form of revenue sharing. And we've seen significant decreases over the year as the state has sought to balance their books on the backs of local communities. While, of course, punting more and more responsibilities down to locals, say, hey, you guys do more, but we're going to give you less by which to do it. We've seen some increases, but in a sense, they patted themselves on the back and said, hey, aren't we great? No new taxes. But then, we're going to punt this responsibility down to the local community, let them provide these services, and they can figure out how to pay for it. Oh, and by the way, we're going to give you less money. You would say that's an accurate reflection of, the state approach to local communities. And so the actual amount of tax revenue that we derive for all of those general fund services is actually less than 1 mil. Because we've authorized 1 mil, but Headley has rolled that back to like 0.82, correct?
Yep.
Yeah. So everything else that we knew that's not police, that's not fire, that is not water and sewer, we, and of course, the public housing, stuff like that, which is separate, the courts, which are separate, we do with under 1 mil, and the service fees that we bring in to do it. So I always like to say to folks when I'm speaking to them at groups or whatever, I'm very proud of what we do for the yellow sliver, because I have a chart that outlines this, and that yellow sliver is everything that's not those other services that we mentioned. In order to do that, we maintain a workforce of, I think it's presently 331 and a half full-time equivalent positions to do that, correct? All right. And so we're going up to 335. So that's an increase of about 4. We got, 2 school liaison officers that we're funding in this. And then we've got a few here and there.
Yeah, one clerk in the seniors department, and then the clerks and buildings department, half positions became full positions.
You need to speak a little
Which is
bit
an
louder.
additional one.
Oh, yeah.
Talking to the mic.
Okay. So, you guys would know this better than me, because I wasn't here during the economic crisis where the revenue was literally falling through the floor. But what would you say we maxed out at in terms of employees, full-time equivalent employees? Do you guys have
Over 400.
over 400?
I don't think it was ever over 400.
No? Okay. Can't.
I'm guessing.
All right.
I thought it was about that. It was about
Were we at
400,
about
wasn't
400?
it?
I don't think so. I don't think it was anywhere near the 400, not full-time positions.
Okay. But I guess sort of the narrative here is the state kicking more and more responsibilities down, providing us less money to do it, us figuring out with our voters and our taxpayers, how do we do more with less? And doing it, by the way, with less people.
I remember.
Okay. Structurally, we have to pay all of those. So there's payroll to pay all those employees, but then there's also what they call legacy costs. There's a pension, so retirement savings, which are very important, and healthcare benefits for our retirees, and that equals a significant part of the overall budget. I think, and by the way, phenomenal job getting me the answers to all these questions, because I had time over the weekend to go through and sort of do all of this and say, okay, even though this figure's over here, this figure's over here, putting them all together, you guys can do that better than me, and so I appreciate that, and you did a phenomenal job of it. But overall, we're talking $12.2 million for pension and healthcare for the people who are currently retired, and then projected out. One of the things I had to do at the county, talking about sort of structural cost, is to figure out, so as all governments reduce the size of their workforce, we wind up with this situation where we have more people retired than we do actually working. With longer life expectancies, obviously, that's a good thing. People are living longer, staying healthy longer, and so they're collecting their pension for longer, in a sense. In 1980, the county, I think, had 5 employees for every person currently working at the time. At that time, I would say during the economic crisis, it was 1 to 1. Where would you say we're at in terms of how many retirees to currently people working?
Well, so we just recently crossed the threshold where we had more retirees than
Working.
actual active working. So I would say, I don't know, maybe in the low 50, 52, 53% to 47.
Yeah, okay, so, but we're kind of 1 to 1 almost, right? We
Yeah.
have as many people retired as we do actually working. As we continue to age as a community, I would say that number's probably going to continue to get more and more lopsided. There'll be fewer people working to support more and more people retired, right? Okay, and so that means that 12.2 million cost is going to accelerate, okay? Which then speaks to this issue that we're doing now, that we've done for the past couple of years, trying to pre-fund some of these things by putting more money into the retirement system now and more money into a healthcare fund. And it's actually proving sort of, and actually providing some dividends, because one of the questions that one of the things that was highlighted in the narrative in the presentation is this issue of retiree healthcare is 23.14% of payroll, which is a reduction in the amount or the percentage from the previous years. The previous percentage was 28.9, going then down to 23.1. That's a significant reduction. And I'm thinking, wait a second, people are living longer. The cost of healthcare isn't declining. How could that figure have dropped? And so the answer, I thought, was really significant, and the fact is that we're pre-funding the retirement, putting more of that money away, so that means our required contribution actually winds up being less as a percentage of payroll.
Yeah, as well as increasing the funding percentage, it does also help with the percent of payroll contributions.
Okay, all right. So speaking of revenue, one of the things, and I'm going to ask this tongue-in-cheek, where's the line item on the road funding for the township, the money that comes in to help us pay for roads?
It doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist, right. And so it's always an important point that I like to put out there, because our funding, people fund roads through the gas tax and through car registrations. We send those dollars up to Lansing. They keep 39% of them for the major state trunk lines. They send 39% of those dollars down to the county. They send 22% to cities, right? Cities get their own road money. We're covered by the county. We're in competition with all of the townships in the north that have phenomenal growth. All of them want to turn their 2-lane roads into 5-lane roads because of all the phenomenal growth north of Hall Road. And we're fighting for that same pot of money. We're fighting for those same dollars and trying to ask for more and more money from the county. Yet we have all these capital projects in here with all these road projects. What's funding that?
The general fund.
So, So the general fund is funding that. So we're taking the money that we receive in revenue sharing, not from the police millage, not from the fire millage, not from the water and sewer dollar, well, actually some from the water and sewer dollars, because when we do roads, we also try to do the water mains and the sewer line upgrades that we need to make as a just general maintenance of the system at the same time, and that makes economic sense, right?
Right.
Okay, but there's no line item that we get from the state of Michigan of those gas tax dollars or those car registration dollars, and so we're having to spend those dollars out of the general fund, right?
Correct.
And in pretty much all of these cases, we're getting match money from other government entities for those road projects. So we're taking these dollars to leverage more money coming into the community from like the county
Right.
or from federal sources, if they're main trunk lines. So that's leveraging our general fund dollars. So it's reducing our fund balance, but we're spending it because we need to, because we're becoming an older community, we're aging, and that infrastructure needs to be repaired, and we're taking the steps to repair it now.
Yes.
Okay. Then, let's go. Oh, so the additional officers for school liaison officers. So when we dealt with that during the course of the year, basically, there was an officer in Chippewa schools that was half funded by the school and half funded by us, the township, through the police department budget, right? And Chippewa came to us and said, we want another officer. So we said yes, and then we also made the same offer to the other high school building that is located right here in the community, Clintondale. As of yet, they've not taken us up on that. But so if the deal is half and half for a total of 3 officers, then we've gotten the budget funding 2 of them fully, but shouldn't the actual
We have the
allocation?
budget funding 3 of them fully.
Okay,
They're all
so,
3 in those numbers.
so all 3 of them are funded fully, even though the agreement is a half and half?
They are, well, in our expenditure budget, we have to show that we're paying for those employees. Then there's an offsetting revenue that comes into the fund
Okay.
from the 2 school districts to pay their portion of those officers.
Okay, so, but our expenses are reflected that we're paying fully for the 3 of them, but then the offsetting money coming in sort of wipes that out?
Right.
Okay, so they're funded at
Well, it doesn't
fully
wipe it out,
3.
It offsets it by 50%.
It offsets it,
Yeah.
okay. All right, so actually, really, budgetarily speaking, and actual dollars being outlaid, right now, we're only spending 1 FTE. And if the school districts agree, then we'll be funding 1.5 FTEs. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, all right. There was a lot of talk about the increase in the revenue. So, last year in the budget, it went from 3% growth to 3.7% growth. So we projected 3, but it was actually 3.7. And so by the narrative that I was reading, I almost thought, wow, that's a 0.7% increase is significant. That's huge, considering that the CPI, the rate of inflation, which is the most under Proposal A, that assessments can go up of a taxable value is, I think, 2.1. But we're projecting 3 because when the properties transfer, they bump up to that higher rate. So then I'm like, what does that 0.7% equal? And so I asked the question, and you guys provided me with the figures, and it's actually under $225,000.
Yeah.
So even though it's a significant, it looks like a significant number in terms of actual dollar value,
Yeah.
it's not a whole lot of
Not
money.
huge.
Yeah. for-
It's nice to have
Yeah,
it be higher, but it's not huge.
right, okay. So basically, the amount of money that we're taking in on tax revenue is pretty stagnant, for the most part. Okay. And that we expect to remain consistent throughout.
Yeah, well, we're projecting 3% increases, 3.25, and then the 3
2.75 and 2.5.
Okay. Okay. And then, okay. So, all right, I monopolized kind of this thing, so I'm gonna turn it over. But I think if we were to characterize it, we're providing the services, we're actually having to do more, take on more responsibility. We're doing it for less money, with less people, but we're holding our own. But we're having a fund balance that is declining because we're an aging community and we really need to invest in these infrastructure
Yep.
improvements.
Yep,
Okay.
absolutely.
And that's because we have a fine staff that continues to do that and get better all the time. And I think our technology is added to that significantly.
Agreed.
Mr. Pearl?
If Mr. Gillham's done.
Yes.
You know, I asked some questions before, but I missed one. The general fund expenditures, the largest jump from 1.320 to 4.444 million was unallocated costs. What's the breakdown on that?
Oh, yeah, the biggest, so the transfer from the general fund to the capital improvement fund for those road projects wasn't originally budgeted. All of that took place during the year. So the majority of that is the transfer from the general
Okay.
fund into the capital improvement fund.
So that's why there's a big
Projects.
jump, because of that 5 million that we had set aside and we used part of it before.
Yeah. And if you see, the 1.54 goes up to 4.4, that's the 3.2 million in road projects also.
Okay, so
So we put those in the budget as we know them. So originally, when we budgeted, we didn't know that number. And so now we are increasing the current year budget because we have that information.
okay, so the expenditures from year to year forecasts isn't that much more than the estimate for year ending 3/31/19.
Right, when you don't include the capital.
Right. Right. But even so, we're going to need more income to continue these road projects. Hopefully, the state starts giving us some money to do these road projects. I think we got 9 million on the Garfield from the state, but and 2 million from the county approximately, but we can't keep putting in money without some help from the state. I think Mary answered their other questions earlier for me before the meeting. Thank you. Very good job, by the way.
Thank you.
Further comments or questions?
I have one more thing, and I'm gonna make this very brief, and just, one of the questions that I asked was interest income. So, as the treasurer, anything that's fund balance, money that we're not spending, or, that need to be spent right in that month, we asked for the projections from you guys. To your credit, you've been spot on with those projections, so we very much appreciate that. But that allows us to do more creative investments, and then we've seen interest rates go up, and so my projections are much higher than yours that we're going to be taking in interest income. Even with the projections and then the actual, year-to-date for, the current year, my figures are much higher. So we should meet on that, because I want to.
The interest is spread all over the place. So if you're just looking at general fund, you won't see all of it because some of it's in police, some of it's in fire. You'd have to add them all together.
Right, okay.
So it is significantly higher than we had budgeted and
Okay.
it had been in the past. But it's spread out all over the place
Okay,
in the appropriate funds.
okay.
Members of the community, comments or questions?
I actually had two questions.
Mr. Aragona?
Yeah. I had two questions regarding some of the notable expenditures. One from Ms. Bednar, $3,000 for the study on Andrea Basin. Can you explain that a little bit for us?
The Andrea Basin is a detention basin that we're going to be looking at to determine a better operation of it and pumps and it's a pump station, so we're looking at the pump station as well,
To redo the pumps?
if need be.
Okay, so we're going to need to smoke test it, I'm assuming? That's what is that what the 3,000 is for?
No, it's actually an engineering study.
Oh, it is, okay, gotcha. All right, thank you. Second one for Dave. I see you got $250,000 for upgrades to the servers for next year?
Yeah, it's possible for next year.
Yeah.
When I came here in 2013, we bought a whole new farm. That farm is now aged, so we're going to be into support, into service, which means that I can't buy a warranty to be able to get 4-hour parts anymore. So we'll have to, replace it.
Gotcha.
And at the same time, we have to replace our entire finance server system. So,
Okay, so first of all, I appreciate you putting it on here.
Yeah.
You're kind of throwing a punch, but you're letting us know it's coming, so I appreciate that.
It's a forecast. It's, unless BSNA goes to the cloud or there's
Yeah.
other things that change, we're going to have to replace that hardware.
Okay.
Okay.
Is there any reason, I'm fine if you want to put it on next budget, that's fine, but is there any reason why you wouldn't want to try and do part in this budget, part in next budget, just to kind of ease that hit?
Because right now I can still carry support and maintenance on it, so I don't want to spend
Oh,
money.
that goes up till next year.
And then
Okay.
it's like buying a new car when your old car is fine. You still have a warranty on it. So we still have a warranty on an old car, so we're not going to, purchase a new car until we can't get service anymore.
Got it, okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, and I love that he calls it a farm. The IT guy calls it a farm.
Thank you. It would be appropriate for the board to approve the budget this evening. If there are further questions that cannot be answered for some reason tonight, it would also be appropriate to put it off to the next board meeting. We do need to approve this budget this month. So if the board's comfortable, we can put it out there for a vote right now. Mr. Keys?
Yeah, Mr. Kane, thank you. I would respectfully ask that we wait until the next meeting. I think that as has been laid out today, the budget is the most important thing that we do. Today is the public's first opportunity to get an in-depth explanation from our staff, and I agree that it was a great presentation, and even myself, taking notes here, I'm sure I'm going to be calling with some questions tomorrow, so I would appreciate if we could wait
That'll
till the
be
next
fine.
meeting.
I'll entertain a motion to postpone a decision on the budget till the next township board meeting.
So moved.
Support.
Questions? Roll call, please.
Mr. Pearl?
Yes.
Mrs. West?
Yes.
Mr. Keys?
Yes.
Mr. Cannon?
Yes,
Mr. Aragona?
Yes.
Mr. Gilliam?
Yes.
Mrs. Melter, yes. Motion passes.
thank you. Item 3 on the agenda, appointment of applicant to the Parks and Rec Committee.
Good job.
Dear board members, there is one open partial term on the Parks and Recreation Committee. This is the 2-year term that expires on November 30th, 2019. 2 applications have been received from Rachel Riggs and Zachary Tinker. Both applications have been previously sent for your review. It would be appropriate to make the necessary appointment at this time. Sincerely, Stephanie Middlestat, Administrative Assistant.
Thank you. I would like to make a motion. We have 2 outstanding candidates for only one position that currently exists. Therefore, I'll make the motion to appoint both candidates to the committee with the same appointment term, which will increase the committee size by 1, and to direct the committee, Parks and Rec Committee, to amend their bylaws to add 1 additional member.
So support that.
Supported by Mr. Aragona. Discussion?
Are they bringing those bylaws back to us, or do they bring it back to the Parks and Rec?
Just to the Parks and Rec Committee.
Okay, and then they'll have to approve them?
Yes.
Okay. And so, as a member of that, I know that committee kind of rarely meets, but we've got this young, aggressive, sort of like new energy, and
Yep.
I think it'd be welcome to meet, and certainly we have to meet to approve the bylaws, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Motion by myself, supported by Mr. Aragona. Roll call, please.
Mr. Cannon?
Yes.
Mr. Aragona?
Yes.
Mrs. West?
Yes.
Mr. Keys?
Yes.
Mr. Pearl?
Yes.
Mr. Gilliam?
Yes.
Mrs. Melter, yes. Motion passes.
Thank you. Item 4, appointment to the applicants to the Conservation Committee.
Dear board members, there are 2 open partial terms on the Conservation Committee. These are 3-year terms. One term expires on November 30th, 2020, and the other is to expire on November 30th, 2021. Mr. Phil Rode and Ms. Sheena Colanello have submitted their applications for appointment to the Conservation Committee, which were previously sent to you for your review. It would be appropriate to make the necessary appointments at this time. Sincerely, Stephanie Middlestead.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion. So, second?
Support.
So,
Who
and
supported?
Okay, we have to identify which person gets the term that expires 2020 and which person gets the term that expires
Oh,
2021.
geez. Doesn't matter to me. I'll make the motion for Mr. Rode to 2021 and Ms. Colanello to 2020 and go from there.
Thank you. And the supporter agrees?
And I would just add that I have the privilege of chairing the Conservation Committee, and I can tell you that Mr. Rode was my opponent in the last election. But of course, anybody who is willing to step up and actually come out into our parks, dig holes, go to the streams and collect bugs and do those types of things, we welcome that input. So we're happy to fill those terms and get more bodies helping us do that kind of stuff.
Good. Roll call, please.
Mr. Gilliam.
Yes.
Mr. Keys.
Yes.
Mrs. West.
Yes.
Mr. Pearl.
Yes.
Mr. Cannon.
Yes.
Mr. Aragona.
Yes.
Mrs. Melser, yes. Motion passes.
Thank you. Approval of the appointment to the office clerk 2 position in the clerk's office.
Dear members of the board, the clerk's office is recommending the appointment of Ms. Maria Lucido to the position of Office Clerk 2. This appointment constitutes a promotion to a higher classification within the township. This is a budgeted position. Ms. Lucido's starting salary will be set at $35,112 upon township board approval. Her appointment date will be March 18th, 2019. Thank you for your consideration in this matter. Sincerely, William Smith.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Support.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Pearl.
Yes.
Mr. Aragona.
Yes.
Mrs. West.
Yes.
Mr. Keys.
Yes.
Mr. Cannon.
Yes.
Mr. Gilliam.
Yes.
Mrs. Melser, yes. Motion passes.
Item 7 is the award of the 2019-2020 printing bid for Clinton Township Recreation brochure and the Clinton Occurrence.
I
Number
think we're on approval of Public Works operator.
Oh, I'm sorry. Item 6, approval of the appointment to equipment operator position. Sorry, Mrs. Bittner.
Dear members of the board, the
Blame it on
department.
the agenda management.
What? It's clearly on there.
Right.
Dear member, it's really fine, occasionally, whether it's electronic or it's on paper, people do make mistakes, so it's okay. Dear members of the board, the Department of Public Services is recommending the appointment of Mr. James Phillips to the position of equipment operator in the Public Works Division. Based on interviews and a review of candidate credentials, the department is confident that Mr. Phillips is well qualified for the position. As a condition of employment, he is required to successfully complete a background investigation and a pre-employment medical examination, including drug screen. This is a budgeted and authorized position. Mr. Phillips' starting salary will be set at $47,361 as prescribed in the AFSCME Local 1103.12 Collective Bargaining Agreement, and upon Township Board approval, his appointment day will be March 12, 2019. Thank you for your consideration on this matter. Sincerely, William Smith, Human Resources Director.
So moved.
Support.
Supported by Mrs. West. Roll call, please.
Mr. Pearl.
Yes.
Mrs. West.
Yes.
Mr. Keys.
Yes.
Mr. Cannon.
Yes.
Mr. Aragona.
Yes.
Mr. Gilliam.
Yes.
Mrs. Meltzer, yes. Motion passes.
Now, the item 7 is the brochure, which will be distributed throughout the community at the end of April.
Dear members of the Township Board of Trustees, on Thursday, February 28, 2019, the clerk's office opened sealed bids for the printing and mailer services of the combination recreation brochure, water report, and Clinton Currents publications. The proposal was advertised on the Minton Purchasing Group website. We received 2 bids for printing and mailer services for 6 future publications, ranging from $41,880 to $53,100. See attached. We recommend that the board accept the low bidder, Grand Blank Printing, Inc. The bid price is $41,880 or $6,980 per issue. This reflects a decrease in price of $108 or $18 issue from the 2017 bid we currently utilize. Setup and postage is not included in the bid. Those costs are paid for by each department separately. The bid will be valid from April 2019 through December 2020. I am available at your convenience to discuss any concerns you might have regarding this matter. Thank you for your time and consideration. Sincerely, Brian Kay, Assistant Director of Parks and Recreation.
Comments or questions?
Do we know if we've worked with this company before? Are they in current?
They have.
Yes.
Yes, the answer is yes.
Okay, all right. So are they the current printer?
They're not. They've been going back
Okay.
and forth between the companies, but
Can you move that microphone?
they've been coming back and forth between the two, but Graham Blake was fantastic with us.
Okay, all right,
Then they
good.
lost
So
the
we have
bid
a good
and-
track record.
Nope, and it's going to save us another 11,000 some dollars
Okay,
there.
all right, thank you.
Move to approve.
Support.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Pearl.
Yes.
Mr. Keys?
Yes.
Mrs. West?
Yes.
Mr. Cannon?
Yes.
Mr. Aragona?
Yes.
Mr. Gilliam?
Yes.
Mrs. Melter, yes, motion passes.
Thank you. And item 8, request approval to resurface the bay floor at Station 4, headquarters.
Dear Honorable Board members, I am writing to request approval to proceed with the resurfacing of the bay floor at Station 4. The original request was to resurface Station 3's bay floor. However, we have determined that Station 4 is in greater need of resurfacing at this time. This project was posted on Mitten for competitive bidding, and has been decided that MLP Painting, Inc. of Washington Township, Michigan, has met the desired conditions for the resurfacing of the bay floor. The cost of the project is $18,900, and funding is available in the Repair and Maintenance Fund. This project will help ensure the longevity of the bay floor as well as improve the overall look and condition of our headquarters station. Thank you for your consideration in regards to this matter. Should you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to contact me at any time. Sincerely, Tim Duncan, Clinton Township Fire Chief.
Thank you. Are there any comments or questions? Floor is open. Mr. Keys?
Thank you, Mr. Cannon. To the chief, why was the vendor chosen? I noticed in the letter that it clearly says that they were chosen, but it doesn't really give an example if they were the lowest bidder, if there was something about the company that stood out.
Actually, they had submitted 2 different proposals, and there was, I believe, 2 other companies. It's just the system that they're going to be using, which is grinding the floor, putting multiple coats down, fit what we felt was going to be the greatest longevity for this project. So we decided to go with their bid at that amount. They were the middle bidder between the groups that did submit for the project.
Understood, thank you.
Very good. Floor is open for a motion.
So moved.
Support.
Moved by Mr. Keys, supported by Mrs. West. Roll call, please.
Mr. Keys?
Yes.
Mrs. West?
Yes.
Mr. Pearl?
Yes.
Mr. Cannon?
Yes.
Mr. Aragona?
Yes.
Mr. Gilliam?
Yes.
Mrs. Melter, yes, motion passes.
Thank you. And item 9 is bid award, District E, Golden Street Relief Sewer and Water Main Replacement.
Dear Board members, on February 28, 2019, the Charter Township of Clinton's Clerk's Office received and processed a total of 4 bids for the above referenced project. Our office checked the tabulation. Oops, I'm sorry, hang on. Something happened to my computer here. Oops. Uh-oh. Not sure what happened, actually.
Here.
I have it in her copy. Okay. Thank you. On February 28, 2019, the Charter Township of Clinton's Clerk's Office received and processed a total of 4 bids for the above referenced project. Our office checked the tabulation of the bids submitted, and the low bidder is Paymar Industries, Inc. of New Haven, Michigan, in the amount of $1,818,613.51. A copy of the final bid tabulations are attached with this letter. The project consists of the installation of a new 21-inch diameter sanitary sewer overflow relief sewer, replacement of an existing 8-inch diameter water main, and pavement removal and replacement of Golden Street from Danbury Street to 15 Mile Road. As a condition of the bid requirements, prospective bidders were required to be pre-qualified for water main replacement in an existing residential or commercially developed area and sanitary sewer construction in an existing residential or commercially developed area. Paymar Enterprises, Inc. provided the necessary pre-qualification information to be considered for bid award. The bid results were reviewed with the Director of Public Services and Township personnel. Based upon the bids submitted and the conditions noted above, we recommend that the District E Golden Street Sanitary Sewer Relief System and Water Main Replacement be awarded to Paymar Enterprises, Inc., located at 58021 Gratiot Avenue, New Haven, Michigan, 48048, in the amount of $1,818,613.51. Sincerely, Scott Chabot, Senior Project Manager for AEW.
Thank you. And Mrs. Bender, the county is going to cooperate with the replacement of the road?
Yes, that was part of the agreement that we brought to the board about a month and a half
So
ago.
that works out well, because not only do they get the new sewer, the new water line, but they get a new road at the
Correct.
same time. It's going to be scheduled for the summer, so it would have the least disruption of the school district, which is right near the project. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved to approve the award of the bid to Paramar, is it
Paymar.
Paramar?
Paymar.
Paymar.
Enterprises in the amount of $1,818,613.51.
Thank you. Mr. Aragona supported that. That $1.8 million is added to the $30 million this community has spent over the last 18 years to eliminate the overflow pumps. And as a board and as a community, we could be very proud of that.
Wait, do we have to approve the 1.8 or the total project budget under the memorandum?
The contract with Paymar is the 1.8. The 2 point, the next number, 2.2, or excuse me, I'm looking at the wrong sheet. Hold on. I think it's 2.2, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Yeah, or 2.15.
Yeah.
That is all the soft costs associated with it, meaning the engineering costs and so forth. So prior to you being on the board, when we were doing budgets, what was happening is we would only put the construction cost in, and then we'd come in over budget on everything because there was always engineering costs or change orders and so forth. So this is the 2 point, so you're approving the contract, but this is what's budgeted.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
you're approving the contract, not the budget.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Pearl?
Yes.
Mr. Aragona?
Yes.
Mrs. West?
Yes.
Mr. Keys?
Yes.
Mr. Cannon?
Yes.
Mr. Gilliam?
Yes.
Mrs. Melter, yes, motion passes.
Thank you. Item 10 is request approval of rate increase and renewal of agreement with Rico Security Incorporated.
Dear members of the board, Spirit Investigation and Security, Inc., doing business as Rico Security, Inc., our current security company, has increased the rate for their services by $1.75 per hour. This increase brings the hourly rate to $15.50 per hour. Assistant Superintendent Brian Gerard has contacted 12 security companies and has requested quotes for their services. He received only 2 quotes, Lakeside Security at $22 per hour and Metropolitan Protective Services at $19 per hour. Therefore, I am recommending and requesting board approval to accept the rate increase and renew our agreement with Rico Security, Inc. A copy of the agreement is attached. Sincerely, Mary Bednar, Director for Department of Public Services.
Comments or questions? Mr. Keys?
Just quickly through the chair to Ms. Bednar. So on this type of issue, and it's a contract, we have a policy that we either go out to bid or we get quotes. And that's how we fulfill that requirement, right? It sounds like he contacted one of your employees, 12 different vendors, and we got the 2 responses. When is the next time this contract would be scheduled to go out to bid, or at least to require your department to go out for look at quotes?
Actually, if you look at the contract that was submitted, there is no expiration date. However, there is clauses of we can get out of it, or they can with notice. I mean, it looks like 30 days advance notice.
Okay. Is there any stipulation that this board can put on that contract to say that, not that we need to exit that contract by any means, but that would require our department to, again, look for bids or even just quotes? The reason being, obviously, this would be a never-ending contract at that point, and it would take board action or a raise in their rates to go out for quotes or to ensure that we've done that.
Mr. Gilliam?
Well, so kind of last year around this time, we kind of had a debate about this because we had all these open-ended contracts. And so one of the things that we did is we passed the amendment to the contracting provision to say that we had to list everybody that the departments are doing business with and then, state the nature of the contract and, what the term of the contract was. And if it was open-ended, we would have one, in a sense, clearinghouse, one document where we could then look at all of those, entities that we're engaged with, if you will, for services, and be able to sort of say, oh, we haven't done this one in a while. We haven't looked at this one in a while. So as a board, I think it's a useful tool. If we don't set a specific date or term, we can always at least have that documented on an annual basis and look at it and be able to do that.
And that makes sense, and that would give us the flexibility as a board to keep the current rates and make sure that we're not looking at an increase, but still give the trustees the tools to look at when these contracts need to be going out for bid again or getting the quotes for it. So, okay, I understand that. Thank you.
Okay. Is there a motion on the floor?
So moved.
Support.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Pearl.
Yes.
Mr. Keys.
Yes.
Mrs. West.
Yes.
Mr. Cannon.
Yes.
Mr. Argona.
Yes.
Mr. Gilliam.
Yes.
Mrs. Melcher, yes, motion passes.
Thank you. And item 11 is adoption of Township Ordinance 451.
This ordinance was introduced at the last meeting, and it does amend the existing ordinance dealing with signs, that's Chapter 1488, and it deletes subparagraph 1488.045, parent C.
Thank you. And this was initiated by both our planning department as well as our building department.
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Support.
Mr. Campbell?
Yes, I'd like to comment on that item on the agenda. Robert Campbell, 41830 Kentfield Drive. There's no question in my mind that since this clause that is being eliminated, that was first enacted in the significant revision of the sign ordinance that was done in about 1992. But there's no question that the consistent and rigorous enforcement of that provision and of that sign ordinance has been a very difficult and challenging one for township officials. And so this is probably a positive move. But at the same time, just deleting that clause without any other changes, I think opens the door for a number of very negative aspects or negative actions that could effectively impact the appearance of our community. I think we've made a lot of progress in the last 25 to 30 years in signs, and it hasn't been perfect, but I think a lot has been done. And the change by itself could have the impact where owners of these very large signs from the 70s and 80s could replace any number of existing panels and they'd be entitled to do it. And the net impact is if you begin to work with them on any initiative after that to try to improve the appearance of our community, I think you get a lot of pushback from people who have recently invested money, which stands to reason. So I guess I would urge this board, as well as the planning and building departments, to take the initiative and perhaps look for new and different ways to motivate people to replace some of these old signs that many of which are actually quite dilapidated and getting quite ugly and worn. I think we owe it to our community to take pride in what we look like. And that includes, I think, signs where many of the top-ranked communities in this country have basically got rid of these huge old signs from the 70s and 80s. And I urge this board and the departments to take that action.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Campbell, for all you've done through the years to help with that ordinance. At this time, I think it's good for us to do that, but I also think it's good that we listen to what Mr. Campbell has indicated, that we need to see what we can do to eliminate some of the signs that are not sightly. However, I was out the other day and I saw a sign up that they left up deliberately because, and the business has been gone for 10 years, simply because of that clause. So, yeah, thank you. Roll call? I'm sorry.
No,
did you have something?
you in fact made the point. It was, it was actually acting as a disincentive in some cases for us to work with the property owners and get upgrades that are necessary to the signs that exist within the community. So, but certainly agree. We need to be diligent, and internally, the legal and planning department have all indicated those same values as well, so.
And Mr. Cannon, if I may, our new planning director, Bruce Thompson, did state that this is not the only thing we are looking at regarding the sign ordinance, and that future changes will be recognized as necessary and take place. So I appreciate the new director looking at that and working to make this a more business-friendly community for businesses.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, just a point, sitting on the zoning board, I've noticed that we've approved a lot of these requests to change faces of the signs as, they brought to us that were, didn't meet the ordinance otherwise. And, but majority of the new businesses, they're going in under the new ordinance and with smaller signs. And sometimes they ask for a second one if there's specific, if there's a problem finding their business. But we don't allow them to go over the square footage that's under the ordinance for the sign. So there is a lot of work going on and I appreciate Mr. Campbell's work on that.
Could I add to the comment to address what Mr. Pearl just said, and to reflect on what Mr. Dolan said when this was first introduced 2 weeks ago? I think we actually took a look at the detail that the zoning board has approved relatively very few variances, where the particular clause is the one that's being deleted is the issue. In fact, where signs have been changed by more than 1/3, the subsequent approvals, for the most part, have had a time limitation on them. So yes, it's technically correct that the zoning board may have approved those variances, but at the same time, limitations have been put on it. And I think I think any criticism of the zoning board that they're over approving everything at this stage is unwarranted.
No, there's been no criticism.
Nobody's criticizing.
Well, I view the statement that we've given out a lot of variances as a criticism.
If you just look at the report, I'm just saying that, we have not approved a lot and we've approved a lot. I mean, it depends on the circumstances. It's not a criticism.
Do we have a motion on the floor?
We do, and a support.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Melter, yes. Mr. Pearl?
Yes.
Mrs. West?
Yes.
Mr. Keys?
Yes.
Mr. Cannon?
Yes.
Mr. Aragona?
Yes.
Mr. Gilliam?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Item 12 is request approval to attend MMTA 2019 Basic Institute.
This is a request by Treasurer Paul Gilliam. He will be attending the MMTA conference, which is in Mount Pleasant. And the cost is $1,123.38, which this request complies with our $1,000 limit. So that, anything over $1,000 or is it $999.99? Anything over that goes to the board for approval.
I think I'll make a motion to approve.
Support.
Roll call, please.
Mr.
So if I
Gilliam?
could just add just a couple of points I wanted to make, and that is, one, this is a 3-year training. It's a full week-long training, so the cost is kind of higher because I'm basically there the whole entire week. It's the Michigan Municipal Treasurers Association. At the conclusion of this year, after 3 years consecutively, you become a certified treasurer. And then, of course, just to answer this and the next item, Ms. Melcher and I are not going to the same training. Mine's the MMTA, and she's going to the MTA.
Well,
Because I've had
Right.
that question twice, I just wanted to mention.
yeah, and mine's in Grand Rapids, and I was
Right.
going to clarify that.
Okay. Roll call?
Okay, Mr. Gilliam?
No, Mr. Cannon made the
Oh, I'm
motion.
sorry. And Mrs. West made it?
Yeah,
Did
I
you
made-
support
I
it?
second-
I'm sorry. Mr. Cannon?
Yes.
Mrs. West?
Yes.
Mr. Keys?
Yes.
Mr. Pearl?
Yes.
Mr. Aragona?
Yes.
Mr. Gilliam?
Yes.
Mrs. Meltzer, yes, motion passes.
Item 13, request approval to attend the 2019 MTA Annual Conference and Expo. Same reason why it's on the agenda. The cost exceeds $1,000.
Also, if I may, Mr. Cannon, this is an MTA Annual Conference and Expo, which is going to be held in Grand Rapids, so it is within the state. However, the initial cost has been amended, and that cost is $1,404.72, and that would be what would be necessary in the motion to approve.
I'll make that motion.
Change $400.
Support.
Question?
Ms.
No, what was the amount you said?
It's $1,404.72. Was an additional day and 2 extra courses that were added to the weekend, whatever.
Okay. I'm going to that, too. I didn't
you?
get to that amount, so I have to look at whether or not there's,
It's not too late if you have other
To change
requests
it,
that
yeah.
need to be made, yeah. And we can talk about it after. I'll show you some extra pre-conference
Yeah.
classes that are very germane. Okay.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Cannon?
Yes.
Mr. Aragona?
Yes.
Mrs. West?
Yes.
Mr. Keys?
Yes.
Mr. Pearl?
Yes.
Mr. Gillaham?
Yes.
Mrs. Meltzer, yes, motion passes.
Thank you. And something I know our chief is excited about is item 14, request approval to restart the police canine unit.
Dear board members, I'm requesting board approval to move $8,000 from the police department fund balance into capital outlay. I have been in contact with a local nonprofit organization called Prevention Concepts and Solutions, Inc. They provide canine-assisted therapies and activities for veterans, first responders, and others who have been impacted by issues surrounding mental health, substance abuse, and trauma. The program is designed to facilitate hope and healing by providing participants with the opportunity to work side by side with canine trainers, recovery coaches, peer mentors, law enforcement professionals, and military veterans. After the dogs are trained, they are then donated to law enforcement agencies as police dogs. We would be the recipients of one of these canines. We are currently soliciting financial assistance from other sources to defray the startup costs for the program. The $8,000 will also help cover these costs. Sincerely, Fred Posovitz, Chief of Police.
Thank you. Are there any comments or questions of the chief? Mr. Keys?
Yeah, just quickly to the chief. So looking at this is a nonprofit that we're going to be partnering with then to get these animals?
To answer your question in a roundabout way, it's on the front end of the program. They're already training the dogs. So when you say partner, once we start training the dog will be ours. We'll be training with the unit, and some of these are the same individuals who do the training with the veterans. But to say we're partners wouldn't be inaccurate once we're established as a unit.
Gotcha. Okay. I think this is a great step forward. I know that when we recently had a loss of an animal to a police force, I had 3 inquiries from residents just saying, hey, is there equipment I can buy for the animals in Clinton Township? And I remember reaching out to your office and learning that, we haven't had this program for quite a while. So I appreciate your efforts. And the only thing I would ask is you work with your social media team. I know you guys do a really great job already to let people know about the opportunity to donate or to get involved, because I think you'll see that the response is huge.
Huge.
So, thank you.
A motion to approve?
Support.
Supported by Mr. Keys. Roll call, please.
Mr. Gilliam?
Yes.
Mr. Keys?
Yes.
Mrs. West?
Yes.
Mr. Pearl?
Yes.
Mr. Cannon?
Yes.
Mr. Aragona?
Yes.
Mrs. Meltzer, yes, motion passes.
Thank you. Item 15, the purchase of a truck for the building department.
Dear board members, the building department requests your consideration and approval for purchase of a 2019 Ford 150 pickup truck through the Macomb County Vehicle Bid Program. The total cost of the vehicle is $26,337 delivered. Bid information is attached. This would be part of the approved 2019-20 budget year being proposed tonight. I'm asking for approval based on information from our fleet manager and the water department that vehicle 312 has to be retired and the need to replace the vehicle as quickly as possible. The vehicle is adequate for building inspection, sign confiscation, complaint investigations, and inspections at construction sites, floodplain areas, and use over difficult terrain. It provides the necessary room for testing, inspection equipment, fall weather gear, handouts, and instructional material, along with a small library of code and ordinance books. Your consideration of this request is appreciated. Sincerely, Barry Miller, Superintendent, Building Department.
Mr. Miller is here if anyone has any questions.
Mr. Cannon, if you would, I just wanted to address this. The purchase of the truck, obviously the budget hasn't been approved yet. The reason for it coming so quickly, obviously, was we had a vehicle die last week. This wasn't the vehicle we were intending on replacing, so I might be seeing you later this year if that one does indeed go. But I just wanted to lay that out there. It is not an absolute, it hasn't been approved at the budget level yet, but we would like to start the process of getting this vehicle. It usually takes a couple months to get a vehicle here.
For next year.
Move to approve the
Support.
request.
Supported by Mrs. West.
Mr. King. Just a quick clarification. Madam Clerk, when I log into the agenda management system, that item is not present for me. Is that just because it was an add-on, and would I be able to find that later on in the week?
You have, yeah,
Okay.
you'll have that. Yeah, it's not on mine either, but
Okay,
I did create hard copies of everything just as, because this is the first.
Yeah, I just wanted to make
trial.
sure there was
I think it's on
something
the
I would see,
website
right?
too, though.
It is on the
Yeah.
website, yeah.
Not on the
it-
webs.
Yeah, it is, in Dropbox.
I saw it on the,
So right now, as
Oh,
I
you updated
stated.
it again. Okay.
Well, of course. And as I stated, until probably the April 8th is our goal to kick this off in full force. But until then, you feel free to straddle both, systems, where the electronic and then the hard paper.
Well, in today's meeting, so far, so good.
Yeah, good, thanks.
Good job.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Pearl?
Yes.
Mrs. West?
Yes.
Mr. Keys?
Yes.
Mr. Cannon?
Yes.
Mr. Argona?
Yes.
Mr. Gilliam?
yes.
Mrs. Meltzer, yes, motion passes.
Thank you. Approval of the minutes of the February 25th, 2009 regular Township Board meeting.
Move to approve unless there are any changes?
Thank you. Is there a second?
Support.
Supported by Mr. Pearl. Roll call, please.
Mrs. West?
Yes.
Mr. Pearl?
Yes.
Mr. Keys?
Yes.
Mr. Cannon?
Yes.
Mr. Argona?
Yes.
Mr. Gilliam?
Yes.
Mrs. Meltzer? Oh, I'm sorry, I already said you. Mrs. Meltzer, yes, motion passes.
Approval of the bills.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Support.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Keys?
Yes.
Mr. Pearl?
Yes.
Mrs. West?
Yes.
Mr. Cannon?
Yes.
Mr. Argona?
Yes.
Mr. Gilliam?
Yes.
Mrs. Meltzer, yes, motion passes.
Thank you. We have one public comment this evening. Mrs. Nancy Denling.
Need the address and the whole thing?
No, we have that.
You have it, okay. I was just wanting to get an update on what's up with the ethics policy. I know that in August, there had been a move to have the HR director, and I believe it was the township attorney, work on it. And from what I read, tomorrow, the Budget Ways and Means Committee is going to look at ethics policy updates. And it's been a while, and just wondering, after that meeting tomorrow, when might something come to the board? And also, when it is presented, I'd like to know if, before there's a vote taken, I think it would be nice, because I think there's a public interest in that particular policy, to do something where you don't present it and vote on it on the same time, like with what happened with the budget tonight, where it was presented, but the vote would occur at the next meeting.
Thank you for your input. We do intend to put it on the agenda as soon as possible. Seeing we have no other items to discuss, a motion to adjourn is in order.
So moved.
Support?
Roll call, please.
Mr. Keys?
Yes.
Mr. Gilliam?
Yes.
Mrs. West?
Yes.
Mr. Pearl?
Yes.
Mr. Cannon?
Yes.
Mr. Argona?
Yes.
Mrs. Meltzer, yes, motion passes.
Thank you. Meeting adjourned.